Welcome into a Week 2 edition of The Breakdown. Phil Perry, Ted Johnson here. And Ted, the Patriots able to finally get into that win tally column this week with a win over the Steelers, 17-14. How big a confidence boost has this to be for the Patriots after a rough summer just to get that first W?
It's huge. It's huge. I mean, with all the turmoil, let's face it. I mean, there's a lot of, turmoil, more kind of stories flying around on this team, maybe more than you've seen in the past. And so you really wanted to just win your first game. And it hasn't looked good in training camp. It didn't look good in week 1. They went out there. They beat a team on the road. That feels very good. And so even though it didn't look good stylistically, they're going to feel really good about themselves going into week 3.
Might not have been the prettiest, but they will take it. Pretty nip-and-tuck game until late in the second quarter with the score tied 3-3. And about 30 seconds to play, the Patriots were facing 3rd and 3 at the Steelers' 40 at the end of the first half. They had a win probability at that point of just over 50%, but after Mac Jones connected with Nelson Agholor on a 44-yard score, that win probability jumped to 72%. Here's Agholor after his first 100-yard game as a member of the New England Patriots.
We talk about that. You talk about, making big plays. Obviously, we want to make the routine plays, but anytime you get an opportunity on a 50-50 ball, we need to make those plays because, it puts the energy on our side, gives us a good momentum. I mean, I think you guys know who our head coach is, and he's explained that to you, and it's very important because if you look around the league, that's how, the game is swung in favor of another team. That last shot possession before the half and then doubling up the second half.
All right, it's time now for Board Games, brought to you by John Sewer and Drain Cleaning. The name to know when the drains don't flow. Ted, we have to talk about that Nelson Agholor touchdown. You watch that thing on TV, you might say, what's there to notice? Really fast guy, runs straight down the field, scores a touchdown, but there's a lot more going on in this play.
Yeah, there really is, Phil. And so that play doesn't happen unless the Steelers are a little bit complicit in what they do with their coverages, all right? So what the Steelers do here, pre-snap. So there's always a pre-snap read and a post-snap read. The pre-snap read, the Steelers they show 2 high safeties. That's cover 2, okay? So Mac Jones knows before the play even starts, this 9 route, that's not going to be an option if you have 2 safeties deep. Now, that's what they show pre-snap. Post-snap, the Steelers do a little something, and Mac Jones makes an adjustment, and then we know Nelson Agholor makes a great play on the ball. But let me just kind of set it up for you what the Steelers are trying to do on this play. They're in what they call cover one rat. The Patriots, they do it all the time. It's a very popular coverage. So pre-snap, they show cover 2 to discourage this kind of stuff from the Patriots. Post-snap, what you see the Steelers do is this safety comes down into the hole. He's the quote-unquote rat right there. This safety now becomes the single high safety. And then what you have out here is man-to-man, 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 man-to-man right here, and man-to-man. So one free guy, single high safety, man across the board. After the snap, Mac Jones sees this safety come down into the hole. This safety rotate over here. You see Mac Jones, Phil, looking to his left. What he's doing is he's trying to entice this safety to start pulling over here because where does Mac Jones want to go? Back over here, okay? And here's the thing, is right as Nelson Agholor gets off the ball and he goes into his go route is go, 9 route, go, streak route. Witherspoon is right on his inside hip. I mean, he's covered. But here's the thing, Mac Jones doesn't care because he sees single high safety. That tells him, go to the outside. And even though he was covered, he throws the ball to him. Nelson Agholor goes up and makes a spectacular catch and hauls it in for a touchdown right before half. That was a huge play right before the half. But a lot of it came down to what did Mac Jones see pre-snap versus post-snap. And it's a well-executed play right here. Was he covered? Yes. But Nelson Agholor went up and made a really tough catch and put points on the board right before half.
Yeah, Jones said after the game that, hey, he's one of those guys, Nelson Agholor is, that he trusts to throw the ball up to even when he's covered. Jones mentioned it's a little bit of a different philosophy this year, but it's what they have to do. They ended up with 6 there. All right, so Agholor's touchdown was the biggest play of the game for the Patriots on the offensive side of the ball, but the defense also came up big with a couple of key turnovers. And we say key because this might be the key to the Patriots winning. Since the start of last season, the Patriots are just 1-8 when they have a negative turnover differential, but when it's even or positive, a perfect 11-0, including yesterday's win. For more on one of those key takeaways, it's time for Ted-Nique, presented by Shaw's Perfecting the Art of Fresh. And Ted, we're going to talk about that Jalen Mills pick, but the guy who really made the play here plays your position. Inside linebacker, Mack Wilson gets his first start, makes a big splash play.
He did. He made a great play, Phil. And what he did, he was able to just read the coverage, read the route, and then tip the ball to Jalen Mills, who made a nice play for an interception. That was a big play. So I want to show you kind of what Mack Wilson's read was on this play. So we're going to have Phil play the wide receiver that was to the weak side of the formation. So Mack Wilson is the inside linebacker to the weak side. Amina is playing cornerback, and she's going to get up there and jam a little bit. She doesn't want to play too soft. She wants to get up there and jam because it's covered too, so you like to play tight there. Mack Wilson's read as the inside linebacker to the weak side is he wants to read the release of number 1, okay? So he is taught if the receiver releases to the outside in cover 2, that the corner Amina in this scenario takes him, and then he can just drop straight back, okay, and then look for work coming the other way. However, if Mack Wilson, playing the weak side in cover 2, looks over and that number 1 wide receiver takes an inside release, I'm expecting Amina to push him to me. I take over the coverage just like Mack Wilson did. You carry him up to 10 yards just like Mack Wilson did, and you turn and you carry him on the end cut just like Mack Wilson did. He was able to tip the ball to Jalen Mills to make a play. It was a great read by Mack Wilson, the inside linebacker in cover 2, to read the release of 1, knowing if he takes an inside release that he's got to carry him up to 10 yards, pivot, carry him inside. And Mitch Trubisky threw the ball. Even though he was covered, he was able to get his hands on the ball, a big turnover, and that's what the Patriots do.
Really athletic play from Mack Wilson,
It was.
and that's what the Patriots tried to do this offseason, was get more athletic at that second level. The Browns knew they had a pretty explosive athlete in Mack Wilson. They end up making that trade for Chase Winovich, coming from the Patriots. That trade, though, already paying dividends for New England.
Obviously, you guys are a game plan offense, have been for a long time. Specific to yesterday, what made running so much out of 11 personnel kind of in your best interest against the Steelers?
Well, that was our main formation group all the way along. So running or passing, it was that was the primary group. We felt that was the best way for us to match up with them. There's a number of reasons. There's a combination of things, but nearly all the game was in that grouping. There were multiple combinations, but 11 personnel was the main group for sure.
Bill Belichick, Ted, told us back in the spring that they were trying to streamline this Patriots offense. Boy, was it streamlined when it came to the personnel groupings they used yesterday. 11 personnel, meaning 3 receivers, 1 back, 1 tight end. 97% of the non-kneel down plays yesterday for the Patriots. Is this the right move for them? Is it smart for them to really hammer 1 formation or 1 personnel grouping, to maybe make it easier for the players?
Yeah, it might be. I mean, there's more speed on the field, or clearly when you have 3 wide receivers as opposed to 2 tight ends like you did in week 1. There was a quarterback in Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning, for most of his career, the number 1 personnel grouping was 11 personnel. I mean, he very rarely deviated from 11 personnel. So you can do it at a high level for a long time, but there's a point in which that it becomes very predictable. And do they have the players and the talent to maybe overcome some of that predictability? We don't know, but the 11 personnel look really good in week 2.
As we spoke about last segment, they are looking to get more explosive. They're looking for more plays down the field. 11 personnel means more speed on the field, so maybe they feel like that is what's best for them. One of the beneficiaries of the Patriots' use of 11 yesterday was Jakobi Meyers. That guy was out there all kinds of snaps on Sunday. This is presented by your New England Ford dealers and Ford trucks, built Ford tough. Meyers has been a tough cover for opposing defenses this season. He's the Patriots' leader in targets, receptions, receiving yards, and first downs. He was targeted a whopping 13 times and caught 9 balls for 95 yards on Sunday. And we're going to talk about his very first catch of the game as we head back to the drawing board. Back out here for board games now, brought to you by John Sewer and Drain Cleaning, the name to know when the drains don't flow. Ted, let's go to the first third down of the game for the Patriots. We're going back to putting the spotlight on that guy, 16, Jakobi Meyers. You have high-low written at the top of the board. Why?
Yeah, high-low, Phil. It's a concept that offenses like to do against zone teams, and the Pittsburgh is very much a zone team. In fact, this is a principle that the Colts used to run with Peyton Manning back when I was playing, and we played a ton of zone against them, cover 2 in particular. And so it's what you want to do is you want to put stress on these intermediate defenders, linebackers, defensive backs right here. You want to have routes that are high and routes that are low to bait guys to jump up on the low stuff so you can hit them from behind. However, the Patriots, I thought, did a good job yesterday of taking what the defense gave them all game long. This was a concept you saw the entire game, particularly on third down. And the Steelers didn't disappoint. They were playing zone right here. So this is the first third down. It was 3rd and 8 in the game. What you see here, cover 3, is cornerbacks got deep third. Cornerbacks got deep third. This safety rotates to middle of the field. So it's 3 deep right here. All right, 3 deep. And you have hooks. And here's the thing. They run this out of trips. So there's 3 wide receivers to the left, 1 wide receiver to the right. They did this the entire game. Trips left. They motion. Jakobi Meyers here. He goes from the number 3 wide receiver. He motions out to the number 1 wide receiver. So the 2 inside receivers, number 2 and 3, all game long, they run deep routes, kind of post routes or streak routes to clear out these DBs right here so that Jakobi Meyers can sneak under here, and it forces this DB to choose, do I take this deep one, in which they did on this play. He kind of backed up a little bit too far. They hit Jakobi Meyers right here, but here's the thing. Here's the first down marker right here. Jakobi Meyers catches the ball about 4 yards short of the first down, and now it's up to these linebackers and safeties to come up and make the play. Jakobi Meyers breaks through these tackles, gets a first down, about a gain of about 10 yards on the play, move the chains. This high-low concept, really stressing that defense right there, making them kind of choose what to do, really put the Steelers in a bind, and the Patriots exploited them all game long on that play.
The Patriots ran 11 personnel, 3 receivers, 1 tight end, almost the entire game, and it worked out here on this third down, over 50% on third down on Sunday. That'll play for Bill Belichick's club moving forward. All right, it's time to take a look at my report card. It's presented by the Massachusetts School of Law. Some major improvement in the grades this week. Okay, get a victory, maybe to be expected. We're going to take a look at 2 position groups that are closely tied together here. The running backs and the offensive line. The Patriots' ground game much more efficient in week 2 than in week 1. So how did they do it? That brings us to let's listen to people who know how it got done. Here it is.
Everything's schemed up, right? And it's game plans and, pulling guards are part of football, right? They've been since for 100 years, I think. So, we did some good things today. They, had to make a lot of in-game adjustments.
It's the anchor of our offense. Whatever we're going to be on offense, it starts with those guys, whether it's run, pass, trick play, triple reverse pass, it doesn't matter. It starts with those guys up front, and they show up to work every single day, and they just continue to improve. And, as they go, the rest of our offense goes. So, huge shout out to those guys today. They blocked their tails off in the run game and the pass game, and, they made our jobs as skill players a lot easier.
Now it's time for Ted-Nique, which is presented by Shaw's Perfecting the Art of Fresh. I was just a little fired up for this thing because I'm about to get smacked in the mouth by the linebacker that we have on stage here. We also have Tommy Curran, Trenni Casey helping us out this week. And Ted's going to show us all about these power runs that were resurrected. Yeah. This is old school Patriots run game, Ted, but we saw plenty of it on Sunday.
And they were great. So I'm going to give you a few examples of what a power run game looks like. Trenni, you're going to be the center in this scenario right here. I'm going to be the guard. So you heard David Andrews talk about the guard pulling. That's the power run game. You see guards pulling. That's power, and it's man-on-man. It's important. It's man-on-man kind of stuff right here. The first one, the Patriots did this a ton in this game, is a trap play, okay? A trap play. This is what a trap play is. Trenni, let's get down into a three-point stance. You're the center, and on go, you're going to block down. You know what to do. Tom, you know what to do. And then Phil, good luck. All right, here we go. This is a trap play. Set, hike. You block down. The disc guard pulls around for this linebacker, and then it just meets in the hole right here. Me and Phil, who's tougher? Who's going to stay low? And it really kind of just, the power run game shows you who's tougher. It's man-on-man. It's not scheme. It's not trying to be cute. It's just trying to see who's tougher, okay? So that's an example. That trap play is one of the plays in the power run game. Another play right here. Trenni, again, you're the center. I'm the guard. It's just a direct read, which is, boom, at the snap of the ball, we just come out, fire out. This linebacker, who's smaller than me, is going to have his handfuls against these guards. Mike Onwenu, Cole Strange. These big guys, they outweigh those linebackers by 50, 70 pounds. So that was another play. They did the direct read, the trap, and then let's do the toss sweep, which is a staple for the Patriots. It's a part of the power running game. All right. Again, the purest read in football is what? Phil, do you know?
It's the guard.
It's the guard. So read the guard in football. He'll take you to a lot of the plays. So this is a toss sweep. Say, hey, Just the front side guard pulls deep like this. The running back comes around, and then we meet in the hole with the linebacker right there. And it's just who's tougher. The Patriots were tougher than the Steelers in this game all game long, and it was because of the power running game. They have a lot of confidence. There's no guys aren't confused. They know where to go, and they were moving guys off the line of scrimmage.
They were, and they were proud. I spoke to a handful of offensive linemen in the locker room last night. They were proud of the fact that they could be varied with their run game. They ran plenty of power at the end of the game, but then at the very end, to completely salt away the clock, we saw 2 wide zone runs, things that they've been working on all summer that's relatively new in terms of its emphasis to this offense. So great job from the offensive line. Great job from Tom Curran, our resident running back. Trenni Casey, our center. Ted playing guard today. I'm a linebacker. I got my face caved in, but I'll be okay.
We're not even close, I think, to where we could be. And I think that's the biggest thing with us. It's so much we can do. And the coaches are doing a good job of just keep growing each week. And I think they're learning us as we go, and it feels good.
Have you guys scrapped anything, though, that you did spend some time on in the summer saying, hey, okay, this might not be us. Let's move to this other stuff?
There's plenty of things we scrapped, So, like, knowing what we do well at, that they knowing us, and just playing to our strengths.
Monday Night Spotlight is presented by the Oakers Company, proud sponsor of the New England Patriots. Ted, you heard Kendrick Bourne right there saying they're already moving on from certain things that were maybe a part of this offense earlier in the summer, maybe back in the spring. What do you think of those changes that they may be making right now?
It's probably that's probably what they needed to do to survive and to kind of get through what was going on in training camp. It didn't look good, so you saw a lot of the zone run scheme that this new offense they've been talking about. That hasn't really been showing up too much in the first 2 games. You saw a little bit at the end of yesterday's game, but for the most part, all the problems they were having in that zone run scheme, it doesn't look like they're really kind of doing that right now, Phil.
Yeah, really interesting because we saw at the very, very end of the game, but when you think about that wide zone run scheme, whether it's with the Rams or with Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco, you think under center, right? And you think about those long gives that where you're basically meeting the back right behind the tight end almost. Right?
Down the line.
But when you're running almost, I think, 80% of their plays out of shotgun as they did yesterday, you are, by definition, moving away from some of that stuff. So that surprised me that already in week 2, they appear to have pivoted in the run game.
And it's what people need to understand is that run game that we're talking about, there's a passing game that's based off of it. So it's a play action passing game based off of that run scheme. And if you're not doing the run scheme that you've been practicing all summer, then where's the play action game? And the play action in the first 2 weeks has been non-existent for the Patriots. And that was one of the Mac Jones, I think, best categories last year was his completions off of play action.
Well, and that's one way to scheme up separation, right? I think whether it's those of us in the media that are watching this team or fans at home, they're saying, man, these guys, they just can't get open. We're talking a lot about 50-50 balls and contested catches, and that's great when they work out. But why aren't we getting guys running free over the middle of the field or down the field, down the seam? No play action the first week of the season, 2 play action plays. I counted 4 in week 2. So they've doubled it up, but that's still not a significant part of the plan. They did add 1 RPO, but that's 1 RPO. I think there are some folks that I've spoken to know much more about offensive football than me, Ted, that look at this Patriots offense and say, is it a little dated? Are they doing enough for Mac Jones to create free yardage for him, quote unquote?
Yeah, and that's the difficult thing because there's yards out there to be manufactured and to find. And right now, it doesn't look like they're that creative trying to find ways. I think they're just trying to survive these first few weeks, see what works, see what doesn't work. So the zone run scheme that we've been talking about all summer, they started doing that, like you mentioned, at the end of the game, and they had success doing it. Maybe that's a way that they kind of get into it more. Is hey, you know what? After we get a lead and we get our running game going, our power running game like we showed you earlier, then we start introducing it maybe later in games to get the guys' confidence up, and then maybe you do that as the season goes on, you get more and more involved in that.
So much more 11 personnel, which we talked about earlier in the show. That means much less 12 personnel, so you're not seeing those 2 tight ends on the field at the same time. Not much play action, a lot of shotgun. It feels like maybe they're creating an identity here. I wanted to ask you about one thing about Bill Belichick. Spent a lot of time with the offense in the first half here, Ted. We watched him with his back to the field while his defense is playing. That is rare for me covering this team. I can't remember a time when Bill Belichick wasn't watching the defensive action on the field in real time. What does that say to you?
It's shocking. Well, it says one thing that jumps out when you say that is I think he trusts his coaches. So Gerard Mayo and his son Steve Belichick, it feels like those guys on the defensive side, he trusts that those guys know what they're doing. However, I'll be curious to see if his back's turned to the defense when the defense is out there this week, because Jackson's coming in and they have the Ravens are coming in, and that's a very, very difficult offense, as we know.
A little bit different challenge next week against Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, that Baltimore Ravens offense, which put up a bunch of points in week 2 despite losing that game to the Dolphins. Great stuff from you, Ted, as always. What do you think? Week 3, very quickly. Give us a quick prediction.
I think the defense is going to hold its own. It's whether or not the offense comes in this game. If the offense shows up, they have a chance.
Maybe get some pulling guards going. Smack those Ravens linebackers in the mouth. Talk to you next week.